Before I begin, I really wish to thank you for the subject which you have selected, the VFX. So it is a very, need of the hour, and the kind of presentations and the panel discussions are going on. They're really giving great insights to everyone. So before I begin the presentation, we offer virtual pro workstations. These are all GPU based workstations from our own data center, which is in Navi Mumbai, Panvel. And these workstations have been extensively used for many multiple industries, from content creation, virtual production, for visual effects, and even being used by various AI/ML kind of workloads. So before I begin with the slides, maybe I have a small around a minute product presentation. I would like to show the video. So just give me a moment. I'll share my screen. I'm just getting into the presentation mode. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So that was a quick video about the product, which where we quickly covered almost all the features and how we are offering it. So I'll just quickly run through a few slides. So I don't know why this bar is not. Okay, that's fine. So basically, while we're talking about, take a minute for talking about needs versus reality. So today we talk about the reality. We have been started talking about virtual production. People have been using expensive physical workstations where they're they're worried about hardware refresh cycle, the repairs and maintenance, the remote access, how the remote access is to be provided. So when they are talking about doing production from either homes or remote location, another major issue is about collaborating with multiple teams. So it could be the kind of device they may be using or kind of workstation they may be using at remote location. It could be about the connectivity issue. So there are multiple aspects that needs to be taken care of before we enable the creative professionals with remote work or remote workstation facilities. So to take care of all these challenges, Yotta has decided to democratize this virtual production need by providing virtual pro workstations. So these are high performance workstations hosted in our data center, a very cost effective and hassle free experience. It provides stability. You don't need to worry about the scalability. You can scale up and scale down as per need. So going ahead in next slides, I'll be talking about flexible monthly plans, and it ensures data security. And the most important aspect is the collaboration. So when we say collaboration, the huge amount of data. So one aspects with many of our customers they were worried about is the huge amount of data which gets generated at the remote location, at the studios, or be it at the on-site locations. So how can that data be pushed to the central data center? And even during collaboration, when multiple team members, or even if they have to collaborate, or if they have to show the job or the workload to their customers, it becomes difficult, to transfer those huge files to the team members or to the customer, and then collaborate with them, take their inputs, do the further editing or correction in that job, and then resend it. So it's a quite elaborative task, and main major worry is about sending the data to and fro from all these multiple location. So all these issues are been corrected or been taken care of with the help of this virtual pro workstations. So the workstations which we are offering are powered by Citrix. So we have deployed a Citrix VDI platform which is built using zero trust philosophy. So when we say zero trust philosophy, we ensure that any user or any device getting connected to the virtual workstation using any network is thoroughly verified, authenticated, and only then access is given to that particular user. So zero trust philosophy is maintained, which ensures that the right user and right device gets connected to the virtual workstations. There is a multi-factor authentication which is inbuilt feature of our platform. So you can either use a Google Authenticator or a simple Microsoft Authenticator app to ensure that the right person is logging into the device. And these workstations are powered by NVIDIA's latest enterprise grade GPUs. And the GPUs which we are offering are both the flavors. That is, we can offer the entire GPU, which is technically called as pass-through GPU, or we also provision virtual GPUs, which very less players are offering it today in the market. So we are using NVIDIA's own virtual grid technology to virtualize the GPU. So the way we virtualize CPU, the same way we are virtualizing the GPUs as well in these workstations. And based on the need, based on the workload, you can choose a right plan, be it a 2 GB GPU or entire 48 GB GPU, which is available, can be delivered to the end user. These workstations, as I said, they are accessible from anywhere using any basic computer. You can use a thin client, you can use a very low-end laptop. You don't need any GPU power at the endpoint device. And the reason is the entire workload which needs to be processed, or the application and the data, everything has been processed inside the virtual pro workstation, which is hosted inside our data center. So this is the beauty of our offering. So be it any location, it can be your on-site location, or it could be your graphic professional's home, or it could be any remote location. And your user, he may be getting connected using a normal 4G or broadband connectivity. You don't have to worry about the kind of device he is using. In fact, I have a couple of users who are collaborating with their team member using their smartphone or tabs, because they just want to visualize what is happening, what is being done on the remote at the data center end, and accordingly they give them the further suggestions of how the job is going on, and they can advise their colleagues. So this technology can be used very efficiently for remote workload kind of scenario. The platform, as I said, is powered by NVIDIA's latest GPUs. So this A40 is one of the latest GPU in NVIDIA family. It comes with 48 GB GDDR6 memory. It is a high-speed memory, and it has got 10,752 CUDA cores. So as we all are aware, more the CUDA cores, more the most powerful will be the graphic machine, and it is almost difficult, I'll say, not impossible is the wrong word, but it is difficult for each and every small or mid-sized production house to have this kind of power deployed in their own studio for their professionals to take care of their day-to-day workload activities. So we have many customers who come to us. They say they need this virtual pro workstation to make use of this latest GPU to ensure that their the project timelines are maintained. So we have users who use this workstation for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, or even a month, depending on the kind of project they could be working on. When we had launched this virtual pro workstation, we had RTX 8000 GPU in our GPU family. So we still have few RTX 8000, and we also offer the latest one, which is A40, which I mentioned earlier. So this comes with little lower CUDA cores already, although the RAM is same 48 GB, but the major difference is the tensor performance and the CUDA core performance. So A40 give you a very high speed performance. That is a benefit on our virtual pro workstation. And as I said, it is backed by Citrix VDI platform, and the kind of codecs and protocols are being used. They ensure that the end user or the user, the professional who is using this virtual pro workstation, even though there is fluctuation in the bandwidth when they are using, even if the bandwidth gets even if the network gets disconnected at the remote end, you don't have to worry about what is so what could happen with his job, because the job is getting processed at the data center inside the workstation. So your data is always secure. So it has got two benefits. So one is you don't have to worry about your employees, where are they sitting, is your data secured, is the data getting downloaded at home or any remote location and can go to the wrong hands. What happens if your end user's laptop or endpoint device gets stolen? So you don't have to worry about anything. The data or your the content, which is the most important aspect, is secured inside the data center within the virtual pro workstation. And what the user sees is basically whatever he is seeing is with the help of visualization technology. So the slide which you are seeing, we are using Citrix HDX 3D Pro protocol, which uses adaptive H.265 codec. So you are aware it is a high efficiency video codec which ensures that the rich colors and the best optimum video quality is being delivered to the end user. So the data which is getting generated inside the workstation, that data is basically converted into pixels and that is delivered to the end user, and that's how end user can see what is happening inside the workstations, and he can just click on next commands and he can keep running his workload on the virtual pro workstation. So that's how, with this help of this technology, one thing we ensured, data is secured at the central location. It can be accessed with the help of any device from any network, and it becomes easy to collaborate across anyone. Another major important aspect is, since the data gets generated within the virtual pro workstation, now you don't have to worry about transferring those heavy files. So the GBs and TBs of content which gets created remains inside the data center, and whoever wants to collaborate on that particular workload, they can just get connected using their endpoint device. The customer can provide them a secured access. He can share the username and password. We can create a temporary access for the customers as well, and they can just log in and see what is actually happening and what their professionals have done on that particular workload. Talking about applications, each and every popular application have been tested and has been successfully running on these virtual pro workstations. So be it pre-production, production or post-production, we have applications being running on this virtual pro workstation at all stages by many customers. This also, now when you are working on virtual pro workstation, you don't have to worry about the real world benefits. So the benefits which you had been availing when working on the physical workstation, the same benefits are available with the virtual pro workstation as well. So you talk about remote editing, you talk about using multi-monitor support, you talk about using an 8K monitor support. So this Virtual Pro Workstation doesn't have any dependency or limitations on what kind of endpoint device you are using. So as I said earlier, you may have a GPU-less machine, but although you don't need GPU, you may need an 8K monitor to actually see what kind of workload, what is the quality of the workload, what are the colors, and what is the resolution you are processing on the Virtual Pro Workstation. So all those things are possible. You can have a control on where the data can be stored. If you want to store the data on some XYZ remote location or in some third-party data center, you can have those drive mapped. You may continue using your Google Drive or OneDrives, and you can continue sharing the data with within your colleagues using those drives. And as I said, it gives you a native PC experience. Means you may give a try. We have trial instances available, so it gives you a real world experience. So the user never feels as if he is working on an virtual workstation. He feels as if he is working on physical workstation, and that GPU power, A40 power which that GPU is giving, that power is deployed within his own machine. So that's how the technology is being deployed. And in the end, the product is offered with unlimited data transfer. Both ingress and egress are included. So that gives you a major benefit, because you are working on such heavy workloads, a huge amount of data getting generated. So maybe you are working on some studio or in some remote location, site location, or even at home. Whatever data gets generated at the workstation, or in case you have to some content is captured through camera and you just want to push it to the workstation, that is possible. You don't have to worry about ingress and egress. Our entire data transfer is unlimited. So that is the beauty of our offering. And we have quite flexible plans. We in workstation we have two flavors or two popular offerings, which are personal and pooled. So I'll quickly explain the difference between personal and pooled. Personal workstation is or you can just treat it as user's own workstation, which he may be using his own physical workstation, but it is just a virtual workstation. But whatever the user was the way the user was using his physical workstation, he can continue using it in the same way. So the end user can have his own favorite applications. He can store his data within that workstation. There is no limitation in using the personal workstation. The user might log in and log out anytime. These are all 24/7 plans. So user can log in, log out whenever he want as per his choice. And he can actually keep the data running. He can upload some job for rendering, and he can just lock the screen and move away. You don't have to worry about in case someone comes and he keeps presses some wrong key and disturb the rendering activity. So all these hassles have been removed, and the sustained or stable working platform is been taken care of. Now coming to the pooled workstations. So pooled workstations are basically the configuration wise, performance wise, and operation wise, they work exactly the same like personal workstation. The only difference is these pooled workstations can be shared with multiple users. But when I say shared, I don't mean it is a concurrent users. It is the moment first user logs out of the pooled workstation, that entire pooled workstation is wiped off as a clean slate, and that pooled workstation can be assigned to some other user. So these kind of pooled workstations or these plans are beneficial for the scenario where you may be having employees working in 2 or 3 different shifts. So say for example, today you are having 1,000 odd professionals working from different locations. So that doesn't mean you have to go for 1,000 workstations. So you may be having 300 odd employees working in 3 different shifts. So just go for 300 pooled workstations, and that way you can save lot amount of investment. You can save huge amount of money with the help of this pooled workstation, while ensuring the same performance and same benefits of the Virtual Pro workstations. As I said, we have Flexible plan, talk about the choice of CPU, memory, storage, and GPU. So these are the four major components, or four major parts, important components of the Virtual Pro Workstation. So depending on your workload, if your workload is CPU intensive, you have an option of choosing higher number of CPUs and lower number of virtual GPUs. Or in case your job is GPU intensive, you have an option of choosing any number of GPU GB memory starting from 2 GB up to entire 48 GB memory. We also have some plans with multiple GPU cards, but your application needs to have that capability of making use of that multiple GPU cards. So your workstation wise, there is no limitation. It is only the limitation is how your software can make use of these resources. So quickly, so almost all the slides are covered. Quickly, I'll just summarize the advantages of our Yotta's Virtual Pro Workstation. So you have a huge benefit of cost optimization. You don't have to worry about any capex. You don't have to do any huge investment on those workstations, which gets outdated in max to max 2 or 3 years. Because you all are aware, new software keeps coming, software comes with add-on features, and to ensure that those features are supported by your workstation, you either have to upgrade the workstation or you have to just sell it off and scrap it off and buy a new one. So you don't have to worry about anything. You have to just get connected to this Virtual Pro Workstation, which are in OPEX model, which gives you the flexibility and mobility by allowing your users to get connected from any location using any device and any network. Talking about security, these are the most secured workstations, so that data always remains inside the data center. It never leaves out of the data center unless your security policy or unless the user allows to someone to copy it in their own machine. So data always remains inside the data center. On top of it, we are also aware about the guidelines provided by Motion Picture Association, where the guidelines talk about the security aspects of storing the data, processing the data, and then delivering the data. So our data center is part of TPN. We are following the TPN guidelines. We have TPN certification. So whatever content you are creating for your customers, you can ensure that the content is getting created in a most secured environment. Talking about ease of deployment, so these are ready workstations available. So it is not like when you appoint an artist, you don't have to wait for a day or 2 or 3 to get the workstation and assign it to that user. So the moment you have a user onboarded, you have the workstation available for him within few minutes. So you have to just come on Yotta's dashboard, just click on one workstation availability. So you have to choose the configuration you want to assign for that user, and that workstation will be made available or provisioned within few minutes. The entire platform is deployed in high availability. So when we say high availability, it is ensured that even if there is any hardware issue or even if there is any technical issue with the workstation, the user workload doesn't get affected. User doesn't even get an awareness that okay, there was something down in the backend. So high availability means everything is deployed in active mode. So the moment something happens with this part of that infrastructure, immediately there is another highly available server which is available, which will on the fly take over the entire workload and it will continue processing that workload. So you don't have to worry about the downtimes. So that's how we are providing 99.95% uptime SLA with uninterrupted performance. So these and there are many other benefits. We have trial instances made available for multiple use cases. I would request maybe you can just get connected to our marketing team and request for a trial workstation which can be made available. So that was it. This was my last slide.
Okay, thanks, Sandeep. That was quite a lucid and clear presentation. Thank you for making it so clear. There are questions around latency between the thin client and your Virtual Pro workstation. What, supposing you're rendering, what kind of latency do we have?
So basically, as I said, we have deployed the latest infrastructure. The network connectivity has been taken care of, and on top of it, good you came up with this point. We have couple of internet exchanges within our data center. So we have point of presence of couple of very predominant internet exchanges, and Deckix is one of the exchange who have recently deployed their POP within our data center. So having an internet exchange within our data center, what basically it means is all the ISPs within India, they are getting connected to our data center through that internet exchange. So the user request coming from any geographical location, it is as good as that the request is coming within that CUG network. So basically it is like a content delivery network. It is like a CDN. So automatically a virtual CDN gets built up, and it's a secure tunnel which is built between the endpoint device and the virtual pro workstation. So while security is taken care of, latency is also taken care of over here.
The point is what they were mentioning is, what if I have a low bandwidth connection? Can I work on 2G?
Now coming to the bandwidth.
Yeah.
So the bandwidth sizing is done depending on your workload. But talking about the technology, we need only 250 kbps of bandwidth to maintain the connectivity between endpoint device and the virtual pro workstation. And if the end user is working on some 3D Max Maya kind of an application, hardly you need 2 or 3 Mbps of bandwidth. In case they are working on 4K or 8K kind of content, only then they may need a bandwidth of say about 10 Mbps. But 1 or 2 Mbps of bandwidth is more than sufficient to continue the workload. And the reason is, again, which I mentioned about the HDX 3D Pro protocol. So the entire data gets converted into pixels, and the way we watch movie on an OTT content or a web series, so we watch a high definition content on our smartphone or our laptop. In the same way, the content data is getting transferred and converted into pixels, and it is being streamed using the same streaming technology to the endpoint device. So you don't have to worry about the bandwidth. And if the bandwidth goes up or down, it has got inbuilt adaptive bandwidth management capability, which ensures that even if the bandwidth goes down, still that connectivity is maintained between the devices.
You use ABR for this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. There are people who are saying, can you narrate a case study of a client which used your workstation and did a successful job of it?
Yeah. So we have many case studies.
No, one case study they want to know, one company which used it.
Yeah. So without naming the company, so currently
they want to name the company, Sandeep ji.
Okay, so we have Pixstone Studios, which we have recently onboarded. So they have been using our workstations for last almost 4 months. They have rigorously tested multiple applications which they have been using. And earlier they began with I think 10 or 15 odd workstations. But today I am happy to mention that they are talking about around 350 workstations being used within India. And now very soon they are also talking about how they can enable this technology for their users getting connected from out of India. So out of geographies as well.
Fantastic. So, I believe you'll be having a panel discussion tomorrow, and you have one of your clients coming and talking about how they're using it. I'll be moderating that session too. And then one more question people had is, how do you manage the software licensing? Do I have to have the license? If I'm using Maya, if I'm using one of those, who has to have the license?
Yeah. So we are basically offering this virtual pro workstations are being offered as a service model. So it is just the infrastructure as a service and VDI platform as a service. Where it comes to the end user software license, it is customer's own software license. So we create an image and within that image that software application gets installed. So end user can have his number of users getting connected to that virtual pro workstations. They will be able to utilize their own existing software which is installed on these virtual pro workstations. So it is their own software license. but the operating system license is been provisioned by us. But in case there could be a customer who may be having their own operating system license as well. So we have a BYOL model as well, wherein they can bring in their own license and we can take care of infrastructure and manage services.
Great. Now, Satish is asking a question, Satish Narayanan. What is the minimum configuration required for the local machine, which we will connect to the Virtual Pro Workstation? I believe you require 256 KB, should be enough for 256. Even how much RAM? 4 MB RAM. How much RAM do you need?
Yeah, so basically, many users they are getting connected through these thin clients as well. But there are some now this artist they are using some low-end laptops. Many of them they are already having i3, i5 processors, so they are continuing using the same. But practically a Celeron processor with 2 GB or 4 GB RAM has been tested very well on this.
Okay, so you need in the GB RAM, not in the MB.
MB, no, MB won't be. So the operating system itself needs some memory. So you need at least 2 to 4 GB. So 2 GB also works well, but there are users. So 4 GB RAM is what they are very easily available and quite cheaper now. And if you see the cost of 2 GB and 4 GB, it's almost negligible difference.
What about the CPU? It doesn't needn't have a GPU at all.
We don't need any GPU at all at the endpoint end. You can use a normal Celeron processor, or even the lower processor may not be available, but Celeron processors are available. And yes, so while I'm seeing on the chat, Satish has asked a question.
Can we connect Mac machine? Now Tarun is saying that what's the rate card? Show me the card. Show me the price list.
Correct. So there is a plan. As I said, plans are quite flexible, and this supports. So there is a agent, a small agent file which gets downloaded on the endpoint, or you actually don't need the agent as well. You can use your browser and get connected through the browser. It is that simple. It supports Windows, Linux as well as Mac machine at the endpoint device.
Rate card बता दो यार, बोल रहे rate card बता दो. मुझे rate card for bulk corporate businesses.
So the plans, correct. So depending on so many use cases, we have
bulk corporate business.
Plans starting from as low as 7,000 per month, so it can go high up to 70-80K per month. So we have
per virtual pro workstation.
Per workstation.
Are you happy now, Tarun, or you want to add another comment? So Behram is, of course, being as optimistic as ever. Can you give me a discount?
Absolutely.
50% in the first 3 months?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, as I said, we have many customers who first wish to evaluate. They want to make sure their application is really working on this. And we are the player in the market where we don't have to, as I said, zero trust philosophy. In the same way, we are zero contract player. So we don't have any conditions, zero condition player. Like we don't say minimum number of machines or minimum contract period. We don't worry about all that. We are confident that our product works well on any application. So we have the trial machines available. You can come get connected. We can discuss your use case. We can help you getting connected, and you can try it till you are satisfied.